For 800 years, no foreign enemy had entered Rome. 8 centuries of walls, legions, and absolute Roman power. Then one August night, the gates opened from the inside. By morning, the city that called itself eternal was burning. This is the story of how Rome fell to a man the empire had trained, trusted, and then betrayed. His name was Alaric, and he never forgot what Rome did. In the year 410, Rome was still the center of everything. Over 1 million people lived within its ancient walls. Marble temples lined every street. Aqueducts carried water across the hills. The Senate met in the same hall it had for centuries. Statues of emperors watched from every public square and forum. Merchants from Egypt, Syria, and Persia filled the harbor every morning. The smell of spice, oil, and bread moved through every district. Children played in the shadows of monuments built before their grandfathers were born. Every citizen walked streets paved by hands long turned to dust. Rome was not simply a city, it was an idea made real. The idea that one place could hold the entire world together. For hundreds of years, that idea had proven stronger than any army. Every enemy who had tried to break Rome had been broken first. Hannibal came. Hannibal turned back. Rome remained. The Gauls had sacked the city once, 600 years before. That wound had healed so completely it felt like ancient myth. No one alive believed it could happen again. No one. But Rome in 410 was not the Rome of its legends. The legions that had conquered the world were stretched impossibly thin. The empire now relied on foreign soldiers to defend its own borders. Warriors from the north, from the east, from beyond the Rhine. Men who fought for Rome, but were never truly welcomed by it. Alaric had spent his entire life inside the Roman world. He was born around 370 AD into the Visigoth people. His tribe lived within Roman territory along the Danube River. He grew up speaking Latin. He learned Roman tactics. He believed in Rome. As a young man, Alaric served in the Roman army with distinction. He fought for the empire. He bled for the empire. He won. After years of loyal service, he asked Rome for one thing. He wanted an official military command, a recognized rank, a title. Rome refused. A Visigoth would never hold real Roman authority. Alaric was dismissed. His service meant nothing in the end. He went home and was elected king of his people instead. Then he came back, this time with an army behind him. For years, Alaric and Rome negotiated, fought, and negotiated again. He invaded Greece. He marched through the Balkans. Rome paid him off. Then he turned toward Italy. The Western Empire panicked. The Roman general Stilicho, himself a man of Vandal descent, stopped him. Twice, Stilicho defeated Alaric in battle and let him withdraw each time. Many in Rome believed Stilicho was too lenient with the Visigoth king. In 408, the Emperor Honorius had Stilicho arrested and killed. With his one capable general gone, Rome was suddenly exposed and alone. Alaric moved immediately. His army appeared outside Rome in the autumn of 408. He did not storm the walls. He simply surrounded them and waited. Inside the city, food supplies began to run low within weeks. Grain shipments from Africa stopped. The warehouses emptied. People began to starve. The Senate, terrified, agreed to pay an enormous ransom to Alaric. 5,000 pounds of gold, 30,000 pounds of silver, silk, spices, pepper. Alaric accepted. He pulled his army back and went to negotiate with the emperor. Honorius sat safe behind the walls of Ravenna and refused to meet him. He refused every offer, ignored every messenger, offered nothing in return. Alaric returned to Rome a second time, and then a third. By the summer of 410, Alaric had run out of patience entirely. He had asked for land, for recognition, for a place inside the empire. Rome had given him nothing but delay, insult, and broken promises. the night of August 24th, 410, his army surrounded Rome completely. The Visigoth soldiers waited in the darkness outside the Salarian gate. Inside the city, most residents had no idea what was coming. Then, in the deep hours before dawn, the gate opened. Some accounts say slaves inside the city opened it from within. Others say it was sympathizers, people who had lost faith in Rome. Whoever opened it, the result was the same. The army poured in. Alaric's soldiers moved through the streets in organized groups. This was not a random mob. These were trained, disciplined fighters. Alaric had given orders. Churches were to be left untouched. People who took refuge in the basilicas of St. Peter were protected. This was not the end of civilization. It was a targeted sacking. But targeted did not mean gentle. Rome was wealthy beyond imagination. Gold, silver, jewels, silks, everything that could be carried was taken. The palaces of senators were emptied room by room through the night. The imperial treasury, left unguarded, was stripped to the bare stone floor. Statues were pulled from their bases, bronze melted down in the streets. Citizens who resisted were dealt with swiftly. Those who did not were left alone. For 3 days, the Visigoths moved through the greatest city on earth. The sound of boots on marble echoed through streets built for triumphal processions. Smoke rose from the Salarian district, the only part of the city set on fire. Wealthy Romans who had fled carried nothing but the clothes on their backs. Saint Jerome, living in Bethlehem, heard the news and could not write for days. He had believed Rome was eternal. Most educated people had believed the same. The philosopher Augustine would later write his greatest work in response to this moment. On the third day, Alaric gave the order and his army withdrew. He marched south through Italy, the wealth of Rome carried on his wagons. Alaric never reached the destination he was aiming for. He died weeks later. His men buried him in the bed of a river in southern Italy. The river was diverted, the grave prepared, then the water returned above him. Every slave who knew the location was killed. The grave was never found. Rome itself was not destroyed. The walls still stood. The people remained. Within a generation, much of the city's daily life had resumed, but something had broken that could not be repaired by simply resuming. The idea that Rome was untouchable, that idea died on August 24th. For centuries, people across the empire had believed the city could not fall. That belief had been a kind of invisible armor around Roman power. When Alaric's army walked through those gates, the armor disappeared forever. Other kingdoms began to look at the Western Empire differently after 410. If Rome could be entered, Rome could be taken. The calculation had changed. The Emperor Honorius, safe in Ravenna, reportedly asked only if his prized rooster was safe. A servant clarified, Rome the city had fallen, not his pet bird Rome. The emperor reportedly relaxed. He had confused his chicken for his civilization. Within decades, the Western Empire began to come apart at every edge. Province after province slipped away from Roman control and never returned. In 476, the last Western emperor was removed from power without ceremony. No battle, no drama. A general simply told him he was no longer needed. The Eastern Empire, Constantinople, would survive for another 1,000 years, but the Rome of the Caesars, the Rome of the legions, was finished. The senators, whose palaces were emptied in 410, rebuilt and carried on. Their grandchildren lived to see a world the senators could not have imagined, a world where Roman law remained, but Roman power had quietly dissolved. The roads Alaric marched on are still there beneath the soil of Italy. The aqueducts that fed the city still trace their lines across the countryside, and the Salarian gate, through which the Visigoths entered, still stands in Rome today.